Now, I'm a creative person and I'm an engineer, and I like to have various different projects in parallel with everything else. This kind of gives me something else to focus on. I get some satisfaction, some gratification, but never instant. It usually comes from either the process or the result, or of course both. But sometimes there can be some hurdles that stop us from even getting to the point of the process. For example, I've got a number of projects going on right now, and I am my own boss. So which one do I want to prioritize? Now, one may be more fun than the other, but it may take a lot longer to finish, and I may have been able to finish 2 or 3 projects in that time. We crave that kind of instant gratification, but at the same time, I want to do the really long, interesting one. And then with the little time we have, we don't know where to start. So, we procrastinate. The procrastination is a project killer. There's probably so many people out there, many of you, that may have had some projects in mind that maybe you started and then you stopped, and then those projects disappeared. And now we'll never know whether anything would have come from them. I'd like to encourage you to pick up those projects again, or start the ones that you're thinking of doing. And if you're procrastinating, I'd like to share some tips to help you get the ball rolling. Now, the first thing I suggest is to write a list, preferably in bullet point form and in order, and you can do this whilst watching your favourite show. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I suggest doing it like this. The first is that it's much easier to start with a small task whilst doing something that you enjoy. And by doing this, we start engaging with the project on a small level. And the second point is that starting a project kind of feels like work. So if we're thinking about work or watching our favorite show, our brain kind of wants to make us get lazy and watch that show instead. We need to give ourselves a little kick to get moving. But no rush, no pressure, we're just writing a list. Now for the second tip, I suggest writing another list. Now this second list should break down all those previous points into much smaller, simpler steps. That makes it a lot less daunting when we consider everything we need to do. And it gives us a clear place for where to start. In this list, we should also include all the things we need to prepare for each step. And that brings me to tip 3, probably the most important, which is to start a small amount of preparation with no intent on continuing. We can easily convince ourselves that in order to start this project, I need to do a number of things, and we can get a bit overwhelmed with that. So just choose one of those things. Say, for right now, I'm just going to do that one thing. I'll leave the rest till another day. And what you'll probably find is that you're happy to continue with the preparation. And as you do so, you start to feel that gratification, start to build up the satisfaction. And before you know it, the ball is rolling and you're picking up momentum. Tip number 4 is to reward yourself with something that you enjoy, that you're not going to allow yourself to enjoy unless you engage in the project. Now for myself, I'm usually working from 9 p.m. and onwards, so to help me stay awake, especially when I'm editing long videos, I'll usually have an energy drink or a coffee, along with some snacks, some chocolates or something. I also try to make sure that the biggest distractor, being my mobile phone, is not within arm's reach. So I'd like to share some of the projects I've been working on which have yet to be released. So the first is the Windshield. Now I did upload a 1.5-hour video modeling this. If you're interested to see that bit in a more condensed version, please let me know in the comments down below. Now as for the piece itself that I printed, it turns out that the mount feature is at a different angle, so this isn't going to be able to be installed. Checking the finish of it though before I do reprint it, it's come out not so bad actually. It may just take a little bit of finishing, and then the fact that it's so flexible will actually help to install it on the bike in case of any deviation from the real dimensions. Now the original piece actually has these towers where we have this plastic clip fitting which helps to install it onto the bike. Now the towers that I modelled on this part, it's a bit tight but it does work, so it will just need a little tweak to the angle. Maybe I'll just thin the surface a little bit and then it should fit no problem. Then from there it's just finishing this part. So I'd like to get your input on this. Do you think I should try to replicate the yellow? Go for a completely different colour to go with the yellow? Maybe a two-tone? And then from there, what about stickers and decals? I was wondering whether to recreate the RS sticker or even to try design my own. Let me know what you think I should do. Now the second ongoing project is to model the engine, or at least the crankshaft, conrods, pistons, replicate a cylinder and the cylinder head. The purpose of this is to explain engine balancing. And the reason for that is that I've seen many people talking about triples and just saying offhand that they are inherently imbalanced, and this is where the vibrations are coming from. And I think that kind of ignores the fact that almost every other engine is inherently imbalanced. So I'd like to go over some examples, some calculations. We're basically going to look at the balancing of an inline 4, a triple, a parallel twin, just so that we can understand what is actually meant by balancing. The next project is probably going to be the next one I actually release, which is going to be on fuel combustion. We're going to look into some combustion engineering. We're going to look at what's happening when our fuel is being burnt, the emissions that are being emitted, and how our fuel mapping affects those emissions, the power and the economy of our engines. So we'll be going into the enthalpy of combustion, air-fuel ratio, lambda, and fuel mapping. Now the next project is something which is a bit more long term, and you'll have seen some early versions of this in an Excel worksheet or Google Sheets which I've shared. It's got a number of sections, including a learning section, so you can study up on motorcycle dynamics and then apply that to the input and the simulation that's in the app. Then we've got the input page. This is where we're going to put all the initial geometry measurements, and then once that's been input, it's going to plot that in a graph at the top. At the moment, it's just been replaced with some placeholder information. So you'll be able to use that to see what's happening with your geometry as you change it, but also if you go to the simulation page, we'll be able to adjust the fork travel or the shock travel. And this will recalculate all the previous values and display that on the screen for you. And then lastly, we have the wheel rate section. So this one is going to show how the geometry of the rear suspension is affecting the wheel travel. If you've gotten to the end, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.